Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 8 of the U.S. Chess Championship 2015 being played in the beautiful St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center in St. Louis. This is between Cade and Troff. This is White, young upcoming grandmaster from the United States. He's a nice kid too. And my buddy, as I always say, my buddy, Carl Nakamura from the United States. Number 2, number 3 in the world, depending on which day it is. They go back and forth. Him and Fabiano Caruana. I'll call him Italian-American, but he's really an American. This is going to be a Benoni. Troff is white, and Nakamura is black. So let's get to it. Knight F3. I know very little about the Benoni, so I'm just winging it here. D5, E takes, C takes, D6, Knight C3, G6, G3, Bishop, Bishop, and they both castle, Rook E8. Very interesting indeed. That Rook on E8, except for taking the file, is stops E4, because you'll have two pieces attacking it and only one defending. Rook E1, A6. The computer likes E4, and I do as well. Caden decided to go A4. Got my Fritz 13 computer on off screen. Tiny advantage for white. Knight from Nakamura, and finally white goes E4. That is the one drawback I would have to say. The E pawn is backward for white, and the D pawn is backward for black. Knight to G4, and the computer shows that as the last book move. Interesting. That knight move, discovered attack on the knight here. Knight to D2, defending that pawn again, but blocking in his dark squared bishop. Knight comes over. Bishop F1, interesting move there. That is the computer's second choice, and it's a close first and second. Queen E2 or Bishop F1. I'm sure these guys have all had this in their preparation, I have no doubt. G5, interesting. Let's go back here. Computer likes Knight to F6, of course. G5 is a close second, but I like G5. That tells you that Carl's going after this. H3. Queen F6, here it comes. Queen H5. Bishop H6. Interesting. Interesting. B6 was the computer's choice for Knight to F8. That Knight to F8 reminds me of somewhat of a King's Indian. Bishop H6. What to do? Knight to D1. Interesting move there. Trying to get that knight to E3. G4. He just continues knight to E3. Anyway, those of you that were wondering about H takes G. After bishop takes, knight checks, king, you win a piece. Game's over. So you got to always watch. Bishop takes, rook takes, not to screw up the pawns. Queen of G7. All right. So basically an even game. Tiny advantage for white. But I'm not so sure whose side I would prefer. That pawn's kind of stranded on G4. But I do have to say, though, white is behind in development. His dark squared bishop is stuck, and so is the Carl's light squared bishop. So I guess the computer is correct. It is pretty even. H takes, knight takes, rook to C3. Decides to go there instead of F3. Computer likes rook to E2, which I probably would have done with it blocks in the bishop, but rook to C3, knight D to F6. Here comes the other knight. Queen to H1 is by far the favorite of the computer, and that's exactly what Troff did. Now, I'm not so keen on that queen being in the corner, but it actually is a good spot. It's not tucked away. It's facing towards the black king. It's guarding some key squares. This pawn can always come to here at any time, so that's not so bad. Rook D5. He's trying to bring in the rook around. And now he goes queen to F3. Okay. Bishop. Interesting might have been queen to G6. Then after bishop D3, bishop D7. That's just one option the computer had. Now, this is where I think the young man miscues. And the computer agrees. I didn't think it was that horrible of a move, but the computer didn't like it at all. It calls for rook to B3, which I thought was interesting. Go after that backward pawn. But he went queen to D3. And immediately that went from the half a point advantage to white to a point and a half advantage, maybe even closer to 2 point advantage for black. Instantly. Instantly. The drawback is, of course, the protection of the white king. That queen was in a really good spot for that. Of course, the Carl goes queen to H6 right away. Now that rook's going to come back around. You're looking at this, you're looking at that. It's bad. And this knight is right here. And I think he miscues again. Maybe he's just intimidated by Carl. Knight to F3 was the choice. Not a great choice, but the only choice that white had. Bishop G2. He's trying to cover this square here. I know what he's trying to do. And if he goes check, the king can just move over and everything's okay. But he does it anyway. King to F1. And now the move I think the young man didn't see for black, for Carl Nakamura. Pause the video now and see if you can find it. The move is knight takes F2, hitting the queen. What's he going to do? I mean, he can't lose his queen. He's got to take the knight. Now, bishop goes to H3. Here it comes. He figures, okay, queen to F1. That'll do it. Now rook takes pawn. If knight takes check, this bishop can't move. This could be a lot of trouble. Knight takes, king goes to E3. And it's just miserable. Miserable for white. The computer like king to E2 is the last hope. That after bishop takes, queen, knight takes, pawn takes, rook E8, check, bishop. That's up 3 pawns, and even more than that. It's just losing, period. But after king to E3, bishop takes, of course. Now the queen has to move. Now you take the rook. Queen checks. King to F8. Pawn takes. Rook E8 check. King in the open. Black's up 2 pawns as it is, but according to the computer, it's mate in 6. But king to F2 makes it mate in 2. Bishop to H1, discovered check. And that's where Troff, young grandmaster from the United States, resigns. Carl wins another one. Give you an idea what would have happened. It's a forced. He has to go to F1. And then queen mates. Kind of a cool mate. Anyway, folks, poor young man just collapsed. Maybe he's just intimidated playing a Carl. I really don't know, but he's a nice kid. And he's also a great player. He'll bounce back. Anyway, folks, that's another game from round 8 of the U.S. Chess Championship 2015. I hope you enjoyed it. And I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.